Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put our First Division Coventry City winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and we have a bumper double episode for you tonight, and it's a double meet the managers, and we've got Steve Morison and Lucy Clark a little bit later on. First of all, Steve, hello, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm all right. Are you okay?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Don't forget, guys, the engagement is important. Do like the shares, tweets, all the rest of it, and let me know your comments and your thoughts. And when those comments come in about what a poor interviewer it is, I've been doing it 2 years. You should know that by now, so it's on you for listening. Steve, I've got you as quickly as possible after the transfer window, so you didn't get a chance to listen to others and go, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." But how's it been? It's sort of all in for the last few weeks. Had a chance to have a breathe and look around yet?
Yeah, no, it's been as expected. Lots to do. Keeps you busy. The January was good. I really liked the recruitment side of it. So going out there and finding players who could help us. So yeah, look, it's really enjoyable. It was, as I said, you don't know what is going on and what you need to kind of sort out. Where are your quick wins? Where are your major problems? Where are your things that you can't affect? And yeah, you don't really know any of that stuff till you walk through the door. That's the reality. But yeah, no, it's been there's good people there. And everyone's working extremely hard. Everyone's helped, and everyone's mucking in to try and get us to where we need to get to. But yeah, look, busy, but ultimately you wouldn't have it any other way.
Exactly. I mean, it is one of those things that, I mean, in my line of work, I do lots of customer service, and when it gets busy and everyone gets really stressed, it's like, well, if everything was clear and easy, we wouldn't have a job. So it's better to be that little bit of stress, because at least you're doing something. But
of course, I
wanted to do a little bit about your background, because a lot of Sutton fans won't know an awful lot about you. Interestingly, one of the first things that people said they knew about you was that you've scored against us for Bishop Stortford in a 1-1 draw, and it's always a 1-1 draw with Bishop Stortford and Sutton. That needs to be investigated. But can you give us a little run through of your playing days, and sort of from your point of view? I mean, you don't have to go through all 18 years with the stats and the figures to back it up, but just a little bit of a run through from your point of view.
Yeah, well, I was a youth team player at Tottenham. Got released at 16, so I didn't get the old YTS back then. So yeah, I didn't get that. Then I joined a football academy called ProTech, who offer you college and playing football as well. We used to play in a floodlight league on a Friday night, and within that you get opportunities to go and play against professional teams every now and then. And the opportunity come up to go on trial at Northampton after playing against them. Got signed there to do my YT, so I did my last 2 years there when I was 18. Then got released when I was 21 after 4 years. Went to Bishop Stortford, obviously where obviously you just mentioned. I did the non-league scene for a couple of years, 18 months I think it was, just over that. Obviously got a job, worked for a shredding company, doing early mornings, which freed me up to train in the evening. And then I got an opportunity to go back into full-time with Stevenage. And I spent 3 years there, 90 goals in 3 years. So I had a really good time there, and then got the opportunity to go back in the league with Millwall when I was 26. And yeah, 2 years later, or a year later, we got promoted to the Championship that first season. Then had a year in the Championship, then got signed for Norwich in the Premier League. Then was signed for Wales, mentally as it sounds. Then Leeds, then back to Millwall. And then retired when I was 37. Had a brief stint at Shrewsbury right at the end for 10 games. Then retired and went into coaching. So I've done everything.
Well,
I've played at all levels of football. I'm not one to sit here and say that when I was at Bishop Stortford, I thought I'd be playing in the Premier League and internationally with players like Gareth Bale and Craig Bellamy and Aaron Ramsey, etc. But I did, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then, had some really, really fun times at all the clubs I was at. Some really memorable moments, obviously Wembley goals and wins in finals and international games. And yeah, it was. I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have because you kind of just work, you just on to the next one. But it's nice to reflect back and kind of, remember those moments. And when you see those things back now, you really enjoy your time.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you didn't mention, and I had to check this out because I'd seen that you'd scored at pretty much every level. And I was like, hang on, is League Two missing from this list? Because I was like, I'd seen the Bishop Stortford, the Stevenage, and I was like, hang on, this is all the way up from Eastern League. I was like, where's the League Two goals? And then I saw he did score a really early goal for Northampton. I was like, I was going to say, get that signed up, get him on for a penalty. Well, we don't get penalties, so that would be pointless. There must be a very small band
we
of
haven't
people.
this year anyway.
No. A very small band of people who scored a goal at every level from Eastern League all the way up to international level. There's not much data around them, many people, but there can't be that many people. Are you kind of aware of that, or is that one of the things you haven't really reflected on yet?
Look, I doubt there is. I'm sure there will be. I'm sure there'll be people who have got a better stat than that as well. So, but yeah, look, it's something that obviously you don't think about at the time. It's when you think about it after, and you go, it's quite. It was all the way down. Bishop Stortford, Stevenage, St Albans. I played for a bit. Obviously scored not. Yeah, so yeah, I had a good run. 18 years. I managed to see a lot, see many sights. The good and the bad. So I've got plenty of experience and memories in that.
Well, that leads me on nicely to the you've mentioned one of them, but what would be your kind of go-to story to tell people, your highlight memory of your playing days? So if you want to bore someone at a party, tell them, oh, I've done this. It might change tomorrow. I know that. I know exactly that's what it's like when you're thinking about football. You suddenly remember something else. But if you wanted to bore someone of your story, what are you going to tell them? Your highlight.
Well, obviously one of the most memorable moments, obviously scoring that winner at Wembley in the 86th minute, which was, incredible moment. It's the one that gets replayed every year on the certain date that everyone remembers. It was the goal that put Millwall back in the Championship, where they've been ever since. Look, that's most probably the most the standout. But yeah, on the flip side of that, turning out every week for Norwich in the Premier League was incredible. Like playing at Anfield, playing at the Emirates, scoring at the Emirates, things like that. It's just, it's you watch Match of the Day, don't you? And that's what you watch, and you watch that because you dream as a kid to play there. So to actually get that opportunity was like that season, and the way we stayed up so well, it was just like every game was you literally walked out every game with your hair stand on the back of your neck, thinking, oh, am I actually at Old Trafford now? am I actually at Anfield now?
Yeah. Am I supposed to be here?
So,
It's been a terrible mistake.
Yeah, exactly. So that was surreal. But obviously, the single standout moment has obviously got to be that. Obviously, that one goal, you score it in the last 5 minutes to win a game at Wembley in front of 45,000 of your own fans was an incredible moment. And obviously, I know the result didn't go our way, but the one thing I did take some pride from on Saturday was the fact that Bradford were more worried about asking me if I was offside or not. And that'll ruin their day. So
there's a flip side to the question. What would be your biggest challenge, and how did you kind of overcome it from your playing career?
Well, yeah, a couple of times. Obviously, getting released twice was hard. Obviously, the first time you're just a kid, so it's hard to deal with. And I remember you didn't want to do it again, didn't want to play football anymore. And then obviously the second time was a bit more self-inflicted. Wasn't professional enough. Wasn't committed enough. And then obviously being in non-league at Bishop Stortford, obviously I did become that non-league player where sometimes I wouldn't go training. Do you know what I mean? It was just like I wasn't fully all in. And then obviously when I got the opportunity again, obviously I made sure I made the most of it. But just those rejections early on, and they're always tough to take. But you do learn from them. I know it's a very cliche, but you actually do, because I was just glad I got a second and then a third chance.
And sort of leading on to that is there any advice that you kind of look back now that you were given as a youngster and you realise as time goes on that was really good advice? And if appropriate, what was it and who gave it to you?
Yeah, look, I don't remember anything specifically, but the one that I always used to get tarnished with was you don't work hard enough, and I must have heard that from a million coaches, and you kind of now realise what that means. It's not just work hard on a Saturday, or a Tuesday night. It's work hard, be all in, do everything you can to be a nerd of the game, learn. There's so much knowledge now. Remember, we didn't have as much knowledge as they do now, because you've only got to type it into Google and you can find it. You can find that information, whereas we were always relying on whoever your coach was, whoever was your fitness coach, whoever was your physio, whoever it might be, your parents, your friend's dad who was a player once and hurt his knee, as they always did, and didn't make it. So for me, it is that just work hard, like be all in, do everything you can, don't leave any stone unturned. Your knowledge now is out there, and if you fail to use it, your natural talent that you've got won't take you far enough. And now we've got so much information, we've got so many tools. If you don't use it, you're stupid.
Well, mine wasn't the knee. It was the lack of skill and stamina and effort. That's why I didn't make it. So you mentioned sort of the sort of tail end when you started getting it and started enjoying it, and you did your badges towards the end of your career. And I heard an interview where you were saying that you kind of understood things a lot more after you've done that, as why managers were asking you to do certain things on the pitch or other players. Can you give us any examples of that? And has that changed the way you give instructions to players?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I started doing my badges towards the end. Once I turned 30, I think I got to about 32, and I started doing my B, my A, then my Pro back to back. And you just start seeing the game differently. You understand, because you see it from the other side. You never actually see it from the other side while you're playing. And yeah, you just understand it more. And so when I was at Millwall and we were setting up a press or we were doing things in a certain way, I could then lead that on the pitch as well, because I actually understood the message. So I would then become the coach on the pitch while also performing. So you're giving that information. So from a manager's point of view, they could pass that information on, could carry it out. Or if we had a match day plan, I would be the one that would. There was me, there was like Sean Williams, who was very good at it as well. He understood the game very well. And we would kind of on the pitch, would kind of like manage the group. And if something wasn't quite going right, we might pop over to the side and say, look, this isn't working. And then we could get some more information and we could understand it and you just see it differently. So yeah, that's how it kind of worked on the grass. Now, for me, like I just spoke about before, we've got so much information and so many tools that it's actually about education and it's about learning and it's about being 360 with it. So we show them visually, we show them on the grass. We might show them by TV, like I said, visually. We talk it through to them. We show them the information. We just leave no stone unturned with it. So we give them everything so they see it from all angles. Everyone learns differently. Some people might learn on a tactics board. Some might learn by seeing it on a video. Some might learn by just doing it. Some you might just be able to tell.
Yeah.
And you tell them and they take it straight away. So, yeah, we try and bring that to life with what we do every day with our meetings and pre-match, post-match, the bits in between. We just try and educate the players as much as we can on what, so we try and add some value to and add some depth to what we're saying rather than just talking to them. And we try and show them, and we show best practices, we show the best people doing stuff, and we show ourselves doing it as well. So yeah, we try and, as I said, we try and have a 360 approach in everything we do. And I said, the information is out there now. The tools are out there, all of the softwares are out there, and then obviously we've got our voices and our ability to show them on a football pitch as well, to use as well.
Perfect. Well, what I think I have to bring up is time at Cardiff. We kind of an odd little club, which I'm sure you've worked out by now. We've had like you're the third manager in 21 years, whereas some clubs go through managers 2, 3, 4 a season. And the Cardiff experience was pretty much everything I dislike in football. Got the job, given a rebuild project, started the rebuild project, and then told, yeah, off you go, after a really short period of time. I mean, you don't need to discuss any specifics, by the way, but what benefit is there for a manager to come into a club, not just you, just in general, and say, yeah, I'm going to look at this academy, I'm going to be interested in the under-15s, and what's the point of doing all that if managers tend to think, well, I might not be here in 2-3 years' time? Is there any reason to get involved?
It all depends on the project, isn't it? It's just trying to create a bit of alignment. Obviously, the Cardiff situation was it is what it is. It was that situation. I felt I was doing okay. I felt we was going somewhere. We were trying to build something. Obviously, didn't get a chance to carry it on, so it is what it is. And now we're here, and obviously, right now, you don't want to get involved too much because we all know what the bigger issue is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we need to get that in order first, and it's about getting your house in order, isn't it? So yeah. But what there is a great opportunity here because, as I said, I believe we can get to where we want to get to. One, and two, the academy's doing great. There'll be a good news story coming out this week about the academy as well, from our point of view, which will be fantastic, and really excited about it. And obviously they've qualified for the under-18s have qualified for their league as well, and Jimmy and the guys down there are doing a fantastic job. And I think over the next 18 months to 2 years, there will be that conveyor belt of players, 1, 2, 3 a year coming through, and that's what, especially in smaller clubs, you need that. And obviously the academy hasn't been going long, but we're in a great spot in London with a lot of big teams around us, but we're there to pick up those nuggets that aren't quite good enough for, say, your Premier League clubs, but be more than good enough for ourselves. And we've got to be ready. We've got to be like a sponge, and we've got to have the opportunity, but we've got to give them that pathway and opportunity to be able to get to where the first team is, and that's open already, but that will be hopefully in the coming years, and that's the whole point of everything the club's doing from an academy point of view, is to start seeing the players come through.
Yeah, I always find it. I know we all do it. Every club loves, the supporters love it when one of their academy players come through, and they're always forgiven for actually anything, whatever they do on the pitch. You're like, oh, you leave him alone. He's a little academy boy. But someone who buy him makes a mistake, and it's kill him. But back to you, and after your little break, you sort of dropped down some levels with Hornchurch, so not afraid to kind of change your divisions. Was there any kind of reasoning behind it, or is it just how it kind of panned out to drop down to Hornchurch? Or start at Hornchurch, I shouldn't say.
It's just the opportunity to work with some really good people. It was a club that has fallen short the last couple of years. The owner, Alex, great guy, made me feel wanted, made me feel loved, supported me, wanted the best for the football club, wanted the best for them, needed help with what that looked like, and all I did was help with a bit of recruitment, gave the players a better structure to their training. We got a better training facility. We added a bit of detail to their work. We just tried to make it the most professional non-league club that we could. And, well, the results that I had and the results that they're still getting speak volumes. And I guarantee you it's because they are the most professional and non-league team that there is. Because I said, I know Daryl, and we spoke, and he asked if there was anything major, and we said no, and we spoke, and obviously Alex would have confirmed that with him as well, and they've just kind of done their own, added their own little bit to it, but carried on the bulk. And like Alex spoke to me the other week, and I said it's not the best team that wins the league, it's the best squad. It's the best squad of players, it's the best group of staff, and that's why they will go on and win that league at a canter.
I hope so, especially with Jack down there to help him out for a couple of weeks. That's a nice little touch. So with your experience in managing in different leagues and different levels, now you're kind of almost bang in the middle of that. What sort of major differences are there? I mean, I know there's facilities and players are slightly better, but what kind of major differences is it? Is it the same that you're just managing a group of players, whether they're in the Championship or Ishman or League Two?
And the player side of it is obviously different every time because it's a different group of players. It's finding out what makes them tick, trying to remember that they're human beings and give them a voice. Let them tell you things that they don't want, what they like, what they don't like, and also put your stamp onto what you like, but also being mindful that don't go in there and ask a group of people to do something that they can't do, because you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
So obviously from our point of view, we tried to change that a little bit with recruitment, with the players that come in, change the viewpoint of the team, freshen it up. But yeah, look, fantastic training facility. So superb place to work and train every day. Good group of staff, all know their stuff. And obviously we're just trying to utilise everything we can to try and make the place and the players and everyone better. And I think if we do that, then we will achieve what we need to achieve. But also, outside of that, we'll be a better football club.
Excellent. So changing tack ever so slightly. Obviously, you've done various different courses and football courses, and I'm guessing some management courses. How would you kind of say your current management approach or managerial approach and your ideal approach are different? Are things, and again, not specific, so don't worry, I'm not asking you to pin down, but is there things happening now that you'd be like, I'm just going to let that go and deal with it down the road? Or is everything just exactly as you're hoping for at the moment?
Oh no, there's loads of stuff that needs to be, or there's loads of stuff that needed to be dealt with, and they are being, and they have been. So we're in a much different place behind the scenes than we were when we first come in, which is great, and it gives you a lot more focus on your work. On the pitch, obviously we know that we've got to score more goals, so we're working extremely hard on that without losing our structure behind that, because obviously if we don't have that, then we'll just leave ourselves really, really open, which has been pleasing because obviously we've been in every game. But if you want to look at it from an idealistic world and an idealistic point of view, then you live and die by your recruitment ultimately. So the ideal style, the ideal way of playing is based on the group of people that you bring through the door. So obviously what we do now might look slightly different in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
If there's been a change of personnel and all that kind of stuff. So we look decent. A lot of information, a lot of data. Is very different to what it was. We were averaging like pass per defensive action, like under 6, which is from 12 where it was previously. So it's a very good. We get the ball back very quickly. We're averaging over 53% possession in games, which was low 40s when we come in. So lots of final third entries and stuff like that. But that detail of getting the ball in the back of the net is we just need to. We need to die more in that final third. We need to. That ball is life or death. That needs to be on the back of the net, and it seems to be every chance we give up at the minute is near enough a goal, and we're not giving up that many. And when we go down the other end, we're not ruthless enough. And this is nothing the players we haven't spoke about. We speak about it all the time. Because I feel like we're in a pretty good place in terms of the way we move the ball, the way we keep the ball. We're nice and brave. We're doing the things we ask. We We need to be a bit better and a bit better decisions in the final third. And like I've said to them over the last few days, you're going to be so bored of me saying it that you're going to end up doing it.
Just score and I'll stop moaning.
Yeah. So as I said, there's always an idealistic way of football, but I don't think you're ever there in a perfect world, are you? You're always trying to get better. But I think from a basic point of view of what we're asking them, I think we're carrying it out really well.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I picked up from a couple of your interviews is you have a huge interest in psychology, and I think you probably guessed this was going to come in because you've spoken about it before. So could you kind of just give an overview? I mean, the interview you did, I think, with The Athletic was just really, really good, talking about it from a completely different angle. So if anyone hasn't seen that yet, and you must have, do look it up. But can you give us a kind of an idea of why you find it so important? Because the times I've heard you speak about it, it's almost as if it was a religious experience of going, oh my God, this is just almost life-changing. Why has it been so important?
Yeah, I remember it clear as day. I was at Norwich, and I went and there was a few of us that we got offered an opportunity to, let's call it as basic as like brain training. Yeah, it was like we got the opportunity. Someone come into the football club, and I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go. I was like, as I said, at that time when I joined Stephen, rejoined Stephen, I did so many mental things within football to try and just get that little bit of an edge. Like, I had to take my own food to training. I know there's lots of people that mostly do it, but back then I was a weirdo because I did it. Do you know what I mean? Because it wasn't a done thing. I remember buying these pots and pans for £1,000 because you never used water or oil when you cook. Like, and everyone was like, oh, you're a nutter. I've still got them now, so they did last a lifetime. So it's been great. But anyway, I just do all this stuff. So I was one of these people that just take it all in. I'd want to try everything, and I tried that, and it was just like it was mind blowing in terms of like, actually, yeah, you are in control of what you do. You are in control of your decisions. It was just like crazy just to go through it. And as I said, I know there's loads in it now, but obviously then there wasn't. So it was really like new and crazy. And then like the amount of things that just kind of thought about, like if I weren't playing, I'd go knock on the manager's door. And then I actually got asked the question. He goes, have you ever like got a knock on the manager's door and then played the next day? And he was like, no. He's like, so why did you do that? Oh, because you wanted to be told why you weren't playing. So did you feel better or worse after coming out that? It was like, most probably worse. So it's like, well, it was just learning all different things, and yeah, it's just so powerful. So one of the first things I did when I got this job was I brought in Steve Salis from obviously you maybe heard him on High Performance Podcast and things like that. Works with the FA and on performance, the psychology of performance, the getting people to think differently, getting people to get the players to think better. The chimp paradox, all that stuff, like controlling your chimp, and it's yeah, we're a lot more open as a group. We're a lot we're talking different interventions, different language, different lens. We all see stuff differently. So yeah, it's I'm using all his words now, so he'll hammer me when he hears this. But I'm like nicking his stuff, but I just think it's so powerful. We live in society's changed. We do things and live differently than what we used to. There's a lot of stuff on mental health, but it's still not dealt with. It's still not something that people focus on. And I believe if we make people better and people enjoy coming to work, and there is an open forum and people are a bit more emotional and there's a bit more empathy, without hiding away from the fact that it is a results business and we have to do certain things, we'll have better people and we'll have a better opportunity to succeed. And as I said, bringing Steve in, for me, being a friend of mine was a no-brainer, and I thank the club for supporting me on that. And yeah, hopefully, as I said, it'll be a real team effort when we get over the line.
Excellent. I mean, one of the points I was going to ask you about is Steve. Is this, I don't want details of contracts, but is this a permanent addition or is it a consultant for a short period of time?
Oh no, it's a permanent addition while I'm here.
Excellent.
We deal with that in our own way, and he's a part of the team.
Yeah, excellent. Because there's lots on that, and as you said, things have changed over the years. Because I know it was ever so slightly different, but back in the day, Glenn Hoddle bringing the faith healers and all that kind of thing was really like, you're a weirdo. But now there is a lot more to be said of the mind is a really powerful weapon, and we're not using it as much. With the job being so encompassing, and you have a young family as well, do you still get managed to continue your learning, or is it kind of like you've done it, you want to learn more, but you haven't had the chance to push onto it?
No, I'm currently doing my LMA in football management, my degree with the LMA, which I started in the summer. And yeah, we meet up every month on a Wednesday, and that would be in terms of in terms of education within football, everything there is. There's obviously stuff you can do in and around it, but I'm just continually trying to learn and get better, and it's been a great course so far. We're in the process of doing our latest assignment, which is on football finance, which is looking into how a football club runs and stuff like that, or doesn't run. And then next month we're going to Hull KR or Hull FC, the Super League team, and seeing how they work for a day. So on a Wednesday. So yeah, no, it's great, and you're always trying to improve and get better.
Well, one of the reasons I want to say that is I was trying to cram in a little plug for one of our fans, Johnny Lowry. He's written a book called Match Fit, and it's supporters and players' point of view of mental health in football. And the reason I thought of it is you used one of the phrases he's got in the book on another interview about the young players stopping them falling off the cliff rather than trying to catch them once they've done it. And I think it was at Shrewsbury you had that interview, and it was just that kind of thing of we need to have people coping with these things, which is probably from your own experiences as well. The question I've got, should we be referring it as not mental health but mental fitness, because that's kind of what you're trying to train the players in maybe some small way, but that's what you're trying to train them to do.
Yeah, 100%, and it works for staff as well. Is getting that. It's getting that balance. I said, for example, we never have a meeting more than 5 to 10 minutes. It's like it's bang, it's in there to the point we're out. And yeah, it is. It's mental health, mental fitness. It's emotional well-being. It's all of the above. And yeah, we need to help people before they get to a problem. And one thing it does do when you do it is you actually notice it in people, which is quite interesting. So you actually can notice, what's up? Something's not quite right there. And then also having someone like Steve there, for example, Steve's having lots of conversations, a lot more conversation than I can have. And when he comes in and says, "Did you know this?" You're like, "I didn't know that." But then it might give you the ability to then go and walk up to a player and go, "I have tomorrow off."
Yeah.
They're like, "Why?" I'm just like, "Because you need to go and deal with that." So, it's your Thursday. Do you know what I mean? And unless you know that stuff, unless you're involved in it, it's just trying to evolve with society, with the players, being adaptable, understanding. I think a lot when I think about like my son being 12, how we all got brought up as kids, and how we were parented, and how we would get on with it. And it's like, they're more fragile than we are because they they live in a social world, whereas we live in a world where we used to play in the streets till the lights come on and all have to run home.
Just wait for a couple more years and you'll be like, can you please sneak out for a beer? For Christ's sake, just go out of the house. Here's the bottle of vodka, go. So kind of bringing us a little bit back to the club. I mean, every club thinks they're unique and special. And obviously we are more unique and special than anyone else. But what did you, apart from scoring against us being one of the highlights of your career, what did you know about Sutton prior to taking the job?
Well, I just remember the journey, watching it from afar, obviously when I was playing and then coaching, and just thinking it's a great story. Obviously punching above their weight, the underdog, coming up, staying up, missing out on the playoffs that first season, and then obviously last year having a decent season and then falling off at the end, and yeah, bearing in mind you're doing other stuff as well, so it's like you're not fully invested, but yeah, just as I said, the uniqueness you don't know about until you turn up. But from the outside looking in, it is a great story and shows what, I don't know, you go and look at Hornchurch and go, what could you do in 3, 4, 5 years if you kind of back what you said you're going to do from the starting point, and this is what you can do. And yeah, it's a great story, and I'm really pleased to be a part of it now.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned the Hornchurch situation. A lot of people would have said, let me see out the 6 months here, get the almost guaranteed promotion. Nothing's guaranteed in football, but get the almost guaranteed promotion on my CV. I took them up. What made you say, no, I'm gonna jump out of this comfy position into a real firefighting job?
The belief that we can get out of the situation we're in. And it was once I met all the people involved, and obviously you had a really supportive owner at Hornchurch who was like, look, he was there to support any kind of opportunity that could come up. We had the conversation. You meet the people, you meet the investors, you meet Ben, you meet Gary, and you sit there at the end, you meet Tim, and then you meet Phil and Jimmy and Terry and Bruce and Adrian, and you get to the end of it, and Luke and you kind of like, and the other Gary, 2 Garys. And I was on a Zoom with like 15 people, and you meet them all, and it's like, do you know what? This is a really good group of people. It felt very much like the Hornchurch situation, where you're working for good people, and you're working for people that want the best for the football club, want to do whatever they can for the football club. And I showed them what I believed was a good opportunity of us to create change with trying to get results, and put a long-term plan in place. And yeah, everyone is on the same page and still is on the same page. And we do believe that with the performances we're putting in, that we'll turn it around. So yeah, it was just something that, I don't know, it was just, once I had all the conversations and we spoke, it was just like, yeah, I do want to do it. And it was something that I was really looking forward to. And yeah, it's something I'm really enjoying and still really enjoying. And yeah, it was a good opportunity. So I spent my life as a footballer trying to prove people wrong, and this is my opportunity to try to do that again.
Excellent. I mean, that sounds like a lot of conversations. I mean, most of us don't know anything about the sort of interview process. Was it, you had to do presentations on Zoom? Or how did they kind of do the interviews? Don't give away any secrets.
No, obviously, you ask the question, you're interested, yep, then you have a first conversation, and then they decide whether they want to take you any further, and then you go again. And yeah, I personally put a presentation together. I don't know what other people did, on my views on things and information and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, then obviously you meet people and people ask you questions and you try and answer them the best you can. And then obviously you disappear and you either wait for a phone call or not. And yeah, luckily the phone call comes.
I'm not going to take it personally that one of your points of joining the club wasn't the best podcast ever. So one of the things that did make me smile is day one. I think you might have started at about 7:30, and by 10 o'clock you'd probably done 2 or 3 interviews, and people were asking you about what your plans are for the squad and all the rest of it. I mean, had you even known where the fire exits were at that point? Because it just seems this is a really odd job that you come into as a manager, and suddenly people are firing you. What are you going to change? You're like, I don't know. But how were you kind of feeling when you first came in and saw what you were facing properly?
I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
So what was your kind of first impressions? Now you've been here about 6 weeks. What are your first impressions as a whole?
Oh,
and
first impressions. We need to make, well, obviously you ask questions and then you think to yourself, right, we need to make some changes. We need to change a few bits, ask questions, ask why a lot. So you're kind of trying to get, and then you're asking obviously how a lot. And then you're just asking questions like, can we do this? Can we do that? And yeah, it was just a case of quick wins. Can we make any immediate impact? And yeah, you just kind of, I remember the first time you're standing there with your bit of paper and you're trying to you're doing a plan in your training session and you're going out what numbers you've got, etc. And you're going out there and then you're reading names off and you're getting people's names wrong and you're looking at the wrong person because you just everything's 100 mile an hour. But yeah, the first impressions were there's a good group of people, good group of players, good group of staff, great training facility. Can we make the most of it? Are we utilising everything that we can? Are we utilising our time? Are we utilising the staff to the best of their ability? And if we weren't, why not? And if there was no specific reason, can we? And obviously then it's about the staff wanting to do more, which they all do. And then obviously the players as well wanting to do everything they can to try and get the club out of the situation that they're in, because on a personal opinion, I don't think they were. And I think it was down to us to try and squeeze every single inch out of them, and I think we're doing that as efficiently as we can, while understanding that they're people as well, and that we've got to treat them the right way. And
does with all this training, trying to get everyone's names right, was Eastie behaving himself, or was he a naughty child? Because I suspect he was a naughty child.
Eastie's got to behave because he's the captain. He hasn't got a choice.
So you've hinted at some of this already. Things you probably envisage things going slightly differently over these sort of 8 games. As you said, we've been in all of them. But how kind of frustrating has it been that things aren't dropping for us? You mentioned, I think, in the Arsenal interview, just the luck is going against us, and it's daft. You're rational human beings. You know it can't all be down to luck, but when you watch them back, you're like, how did that bounce away from him? Why is he doing it all the time? So, just how frustrating has it been?
Yeah, look, it's been. I think I said it to the staff the other day. If we were playing rubbish and losing, I think I could take it on the chin a bit more. But the fact that we're doing okay, but not getting the results, it hurts more. Mm-hmm. And look, luck is luck, right? And we're not going to focus on that, and we're not going to say we're unlucky, because you do earn your luck. Like, I do get that, but it's just like, yeah, just things are. yeah, you do get frustrated. Like we should have beat Doncaster 1-0. Like we should have had that win and we didn't. It's like, what happened? Do you know what I mean? In that moment, like Wrexham is a penalty. It's an absolute Stonewall penalty. We've had the confirmation now that it was a penalty and that they got it wrong. It's too late now. We missed a header from 3 yards out against Bradford, and then within 2 minutes we're now 1-0 down. And you're just like, do you know what I mean? Like that ball goes in and it kind of changes the game, and now they're searching to kind of get back in it, but we get another one. So as I said, it has been frustrating, but on the whole, the Morecambe performance was most probably the worst one for me in terms of attitude and application, because I was just disappointed with it. But actually, if you look at it from a numbers point of view, we weren't actually that bad, but I just didn't like what I saw, and often and your eyes don't lie. But in all of the other games, I've been pretty much. I've had a couple where I've gone in there. You just don't get what you deserve sometimes, and that's football. And majority of the time, it's just not right. How do we get better than that? Because that's what we need to do to go and win the games. Because as I said, I wouldn't say. Yes, there's been games where it kind of might look, we could have lost 4-3, but that's normally at the end of a game when you're just literally
chasing.
You're chasing. But when the games have been quite normal and we've been in it, and we're just holding on to the fact that nothing's actually changed apart from we've lost some games now. We're still on the same point. We're still the same amount of distance we are away. So nothing's really changed. Obviously, we could have been a lot closer to them all. Like a couple of those games go the right way, like we deserved they could have been. Then all of a sudden you're going into Saturday and you could have been 3 points without Colchester.
Yeah.
But the reality is we're not. So it's down to us to try and. I still believe you string a run of results, string a run of wins together. Even out of the 13 games, you put a win, a draw, a loss, a win, a draw. You've got half a chance, and I firmly believe that we have.
Yeah. I mean, you might not be able to answer this question. I feel as I'm forming it, you probably won't be able to answer this question. But Harry Smith being 6'5" and a very big guy, he doesn't seem to get any fouls at all. And in fact, when he's been pushed and pulled all over the place, he's often been awarded the foul against. Is that noticeable with your eyes, if you're allowed to answer that question?
Yeah, no, that is. It is totally. It's often what I say on the side. I'm like, why is that foul because he's big? And the other person is smaller than him, and often it is, and that's just until there's a better understanding of what physical contact is and how physical contact looks. It's going to be the way. So he has to be cuter, he has to be cleverer, he has to use his body a little bit more, less arms, and we just have to keep plugging away at it. It's difficult when you're as big as him and as strong as him. But yeah, it is a frustration because it happens a lot, and yeah, it's something he's got to learn, and he's just got to be a bit cuter with it, and also not get as frustrated with it.
Yeah, that's true. One little question before we start looking at the future. You've kind of on the back of the staff, you've got John and Sean, and you've added Jay to the playing side. Are you kind of planning on building a little Welsh Mafia enclave in South London? Are we going to see Aaron and Gareth rock up?
Oh yeah, imagine that. No, obviously, look, they're just talented people and they're good, and they John and Jay talking Welsh to each other, so it's quite funny.
We've actually got a couple of Welsh supporters So on the curver, we call it, on the far side, you'll see Nick with his little Welsh hat. He travels all around watching Wales. He's seen you a few. I think he said 15 of your. Is it 20 games? He saw a good amount.
20, yeah.
Yeah, he saw a good amount of them. So.
All right.
But so to the future, whatever happens with this season, obviously we're hoping one thing happens, but there's going to be some level of rebuilding. You kind of hinted out already. We've kind of not seen what you bring before because we've explained you've obviously been at lots of clubs, got lots of contacts. How important are personal contacts in these transfer windows? Does it help that you know people at different clubs so you've got relations with them?
Yeah, hugely. And it helps with the due diligence of players. That's huge. You don't want to bring a bad egg into the building. You want to find out, you want to get opinions. So as much as we use all the information that's out there to help with getting a more, let's say, 360 approach and more accountability for a player. So it's not just me saying I want a player or Terry saying we want a player. There's the conversations, there's the people above us as well, and there's the data platforms that we use. It then comes down to the nitty-gritties of picking the phone up. What's he like? What's he like? What's he like? Can he do this? Can he do that? What are your thoughts? Give me your opinion. And obviously you ring people that you think are going to give you the best answer, the most honest answer. Because obviously, same way if someone rings me, I'd always give them the most truthful answer I can on it, because obviously that then comes back to reflect you. So it's all about, that's where it kind of like the final pieces come together, and it is ringing and asking those people, and then obviously especially when you're doing loans and that, you're also asking for a favour in terms of the old spondoolies as well.
Yeah. So if we could give you a magic wand and say, right, here you go, here's the makeup of your squad next season. Again, not names or anything like that, because that would be inappropriate. But what kind of squad would your makeup be? Would it be a larger squad or a sort of smaller, tight-knit group and younger or older players, or that blend?
25 man, core group of 20 made up with 5 younger players, prospects, academy players, if there is any, backing up those, and obviously they can be anything. That might be people who haven't got professional contracts at Premier League clubs and they've been released, and you're trying to, they're not good enough for them, but might be good enough for you. And then you're just trying to lower the age of the squad. And I think we had the second oldest squad in the EFL when I took over, and that speaks volumes for the injuries and all that kind of stuff. And we need to lower that. We need to lower that age in the squad on the average, and we need to add some value to the squad, which is signing players of a younger age that have actually still got some value to go on. And that would be kind of where we would look, all with having those older players to kind of nurture and help the younger players and carry out the things we were talking about earlier in terms of understanding the game and the know-how and the knowledge. But we do need to add some value to the squad in terms of younger players, projects. Jay Williams is a prime example of that. We brought him in with not a view to him play straight away, but a view to get him into a position over the coming months to be a big part for the football club. And we will do that with any other younger players that we decide, because we need to think long term rather than immediately. And we've got what we've got immediately, and we'll work with that. But then from the long term, it would be nice if we had some academy players playing in the first team week in, week out. And we can enjoy them before someone comes in and buys them.
My next question is, are there any short-term, long-term plans that you've got that you're willing to kind of share and put out there? So any more long-term, short-term plans?
There'll be a good news story coming out back end of the week, which we're really excited about. And yeah, it shows the good work that the academy are doing. And yeah, we're not focusing too much on it because obviously we've got more pressing matters, which are 3 points, winning games of football, staying up. So that's where our main focus is. But obviously in the background, we've got stuff going on that is being led and driven by the football club, and I'm helping with it as much as I can. And yeah, over the coming months, alongside us getting the results needed and getting to where we need to get to, then the club will definitely be in a much better place, and we'll be ready for whatever situation we find ourselves in.
Excellent. Well, one of the things that is really proud for a lot of us fans at Sutton United is the kind of community aspect of the club. We did lose a little bit of that when we had to change the pitch over to the grass pitch. You're busy, obviously, firefighting and solving other issues, but so how aware are you of all these things that are going on? I mean, you've mentioned a few of them there. Is it something you want to get more involved with when you get the time, or is it something I'm here to do the first team?
Oh no, you're half. You've obviously got an ear on everything, and you get asked the questions when needed. I'm not going to go and put myself in somewhere I'm not wanted or not asked to be. But obviously, if I get asked a question, then we'll talk about it. But yeah, look, you dip in and out of lots of different things. When a time like this week's a great week because you're Saturday. Lucy's actually coming over to the training ground, for example, on Thursday.
All right.
And come and watch us train. So we're bridging that. Obviously, we've got. I speak to Jimmy. Obviously, you've got Terry who's overseeing it all. But everyone's invested in making the club better. And obviously, from a community, as you said, we lost the pitch, so everyone was involved, lost that. But can we make it a community and come together as a football club, so the football club feels like a bit more of a community? So, yeah, we're definitely trying to build bridges everywhere, and we're trying to create that alignment across the football club.
Okay, beautiful. I mean, you mentioned this we chat to her in a few minutes now. For the interview wise, it's ahead of the. I was calling it the Rainbow Laces, but it's not. It's Rainbow Footballs. It's LGBT fortnight, something for EFL. As players and staff, how sort of aware are you of these days for different things, or is it a case of you're told to wear a t-shirt and off you go?
When you say aware, you're made aware, so you can't not be aware, if you know what I mean.
Fair enough.
And yeah, they do. I mean, you get your emails, you get your phone calls, sending this over. This is why. So there's always a why. That it's not just like get labels arrive, or you don't just get a badge arrive. It's always been kind of explained. So yeah, you're fully aware. Obviously, we had the EFL come in yesterday actually for safeguarding and talking about that kind of stuff, and we had the PFA the week before. They're talking about abuse and addiction and stuff like that, and we've got another one next week. So we're fully involved and fully informed on everything, as you have to be. Yeah,
I can imagine. One of the other things you mentioned in the previous interview, which I thought was like, oh God, that's so obvious, is I can't remember if you were talking about yourself or another forward where the crowd were getting on their back because they weren't closing down the centre back, and your thing was they were told not to by the manager, but obviously the crowd don't know that. So we're saying, why aren't you doing that? Why are you being lazy and not chasing him down? How can the crowd help in these situations? Because obviously the idea is we want to support, but how can, obviously you can't give out the instructions of, their centre back can't kick the ball, so I don't want him to be chased down. But how can we kind of help in these situations?
Look, we're trying to change pieces. We've asked, can we play some music 15 minutes before we come out? Can we make some more noise? Can we make a bit more atmosphere? Because we just want your support. and we want you to just stick with that. And you're great, to be fair. You don't turn, you don't be too down, and that's great. Stating the obvious, just get behind them as much as you can. Be as loud and as proud as the group and the situation as you can be. And yeah, just make the players feel like you're right behind them, I suppose. And they are carrying out the instructions that we ask. They are doing it really, really well. They are trying their absolute hardest. Like the Wrexham game, they were so deflated after because they played so well. And obviously, I would just say, just understand that sometimes their actions, if the game don't go well, it's not personal on anyone. Like, they're human beings, and they get upset, they get frustrated. You might want to just get down the tunnel and let the world just swallow you up for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And nothing's a decision. It will obviously be how people are feeling in those moments. But I said, from you asked the question of how can you help, just get behind them. Get behind them as much as they can. As Steve likes to say, keep pumping their tyres.
Perfect. Well, you probably won't know because they're a very small group. There's a couple of the young ones on the fans who are doing a GoFundMe to get some banners and displays, and they're the ones who brought the drum in, which we never used to have. And they are trying, but I think the problem is, as you know, as a player, when you're at home, everyone's got their own little favourite spot, and they'll stand there forever and ever. Yeah. But when you're away, you all get crammed in together. So, but maybe if and when we get the far end, the away end as a home end, the young ones will kind of make that their spot and make a lot of noise there.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So we've got a few questions that were sent to me.
Go on then.
So people used to say our team spirit and togetherness with the squad that has been together for so long was one of our strengths and a secret behind our success. Is there anything specific you're doing with the players to try and rebuild that sort of team spirit, that sort of attitude to you'll fight for each other? Because it did seem to disappear a little bit in this season where we had so many different changes coming in.
I think that there was a sense of when I came in, there was a sense of kind of inevitability around the situation. Maybe like through frustration, obviously they haven't performed well. And as I said, all we've done is just try to get them to believe. So try and get them to enjoy coming to training, wanting to spend time with each other, doing it in the right way, doing your gym work together, doing your training together. Obviously, as I said, I brought Steve in to do stuff with them together. So there's activities. We went go-karting the other day, just to kind of just keep on, just trying to keep them together at all times. And I believe there's a definite togetherness there, and there's a definite togetherness within the squad. And yeah, I don't know what went on before, so I can't comment on that. I can only comment on what I've seen so far, and what I see is a group of people that, if the results don't go that way, they are genuinely gutted, and they're genuinely hurting, and they're genuinely upset. But within the football club, behind closed doors, they are together. They do believe, and we are doing everything we can to try and make that a reality.
Perfect. You brought in quite a few players in a very short space of time, and people were just wondering, how did you get a chance to watch them, or was it videos, prior knowledge, or was it back to that conversation we had earlier that you were just using contacts of people saying this would be a good fit for you?
Oh yeah, well, we knew the areas we wanted to focus on. As I said, there's every single bit of information out there. But you go on White Scout, you go on Huddle, you go Stats Bomb, you go Skill Corner. You can get everything before you even have to go on to know whether they can hit the information you need from a running point of view, what they do with the ball, what they do without the ball. It's all out there. It's all out there. And then it's a case of tapping into your networks, who's available, who's not available. People are asking you. We use a company, I think called Transfer Room as well, which is like Football Manager in real life, where people are pitching players to you. So you're going through there, you can see where they are within your squad, all that kind of information. And then once you kind of highlight and you find out a few players that fit in your remit, fit within your budget, then you go and make some phone calls. So you look at Ollie Sanderson and you're ringing Hayden Mullins at Fulham because he's on my LMA course, so you find out a bit about him. You ring the academy manager. You go and ring Paul Hall at QPR to speak about Duke McKenna. What do you think about that? So it's just literally phone call after phone call. You speak to Paul Robinson at Millwall about Nino. You speak to Alex Aldridge. You speak to Billy. So you kind of once you nail it down to who you want, you make phone calls. It takes 5 minutes per phone call. It's not the end of the world. And then once you speak to the agents and the players, and we spoke to all the players personally before they come in to make sure that they were interested, knew what they were coming into, and also to speak to them about the expectations of what we expected of them when they come in as well. So, so it's just you try and get the most 360 approach to it as you possibly can.
Did you listen to Nino's little interview when he joined, saying he was inspired by Ronaldinho? And I'm like, that's not what you want from your left back. What are you about?
It said Marcelo as well, so we'll give it that.
Fair enough. So, Steve, thank you so much. This is an excellent moment to draw this to a close. But before we finish, a little similar vein to we've just had before, but is there a final sort of rallying cry for you to give to the Sutton fans to finish off and head into the final stretch of the season?
Yeah, look, just stick with us. Like, honestly, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. I think everyone can see that without the results. The lads are fully in. They're all in. They're giving everything. They're putting their bodies on the line for you. We are working extremely hard to bridge that gap from playing well to winning games of football. And just get behind the boys, get behind the staff. Trust that we are doing everything we can, and we're leaving it all out there for you. And I truly believe that we will get there. We'll get there, and we've got plenty of time left. Perfect,
Steve. Thank you to you and to your family for letting you stay away again for so long on a Tuesday night. I don't get you that often.
Go and finish dinner off now.
Yeah, hope it wasn't too painful, and I'm sure people found it interesting. Coming up straight away afterwards now is another Meet the Manager, and it's going to be Lucy with the women's section. So professional handover to Mike. Thank you, Mike. What a lovely, splendid handover that was. So professional and smooth. We're on to the second part of the Meet the Managers double episode, and we are talking to the new manager of the women's first team, Lucy Clark. I'll give another little plug here for the engagement. So make sure you like, share, retweet, and let everyone know my annoying voice to share the love. We're going to dive right in. Lucy, thank you very much for joining me. Been trying to get you on the show for a little while, and something more interesting always seems to pop up. I mean, awards, national press interviews. I mean, how am I supposed to compete with all this kind of stuff? But how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the invite again. And here we are, right?
Here we are eventually. So we're gonna dive straight in. Controversial topic, get it out of the way. Some people will already know, some people won't. You have a former life. You made a fairly drastic change in that life, and people kind of have to get on with it. Some people won't like it. It's a emotive subject, but there's no getting away with it. We're going to have to deal with it. You have been a referee. Now you're a manager. Tell us about that.
Well, I was actually a manager before I went to being a referee. I went into refereeing because I'd moved away from Sutton, and I was managing, and then I'd moved back to Sutton to this area. So the plan was to take, I've always done refereeing. I actually, going way back, like a lot of years, I'm not going to tell you how many. I used to run the line for Tony Dolbear when Tony was a referee at Little League. So, yeah, when I used to play at Little League. So, yeah, many, many moons ago. But yeah, no, I came back and the plan was to go into refereeing, to have a look at players, with the intention of getting back into managing. But I really enjoyed it, and I suddenly found myself progressing through the levels as a referee. And it was so easy. Instead of having to make 100 phone calls a week, you used to have to just receive one, and they tell you where the match is, and that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was a good time, and as I say, I kind of progressed within the refereeing. Got to referee at some fabulous stadiums. Got to referee some brilliant, fabulous matches. That was I met some really, really cool people. So it was some many, many good years as a referee. Back to your question, I kind of felt in a funny sort of way that I'd completed refereeing as far as I could go.
Yeah.
I'd had a couple of FA finals. I got to referee at some really, really fabulous stadiums in front of some, big crowds. And I mean, I did the Chelsea versus Manchester United Women's Super League Academy final, which was, brilliant. And so I kind of, unless I got myself a lot fitter, I'd gone as far as I could really go with the referees. So
I mean, the few times I've seen you a couple of times doing various games, you certainly did seem effortless at it, and just was like, yeah, this is what the decision is, get on with it. And everyone was like, okay. I know there isn't an awful lot of chat back in women's football anyway, but it was kind of effortless, and you used to do a very good advantage. You used to be really clear, and I remember 2 or 3 advantages, and I was like, that was really clear, really pulled it back. I was like, yeah, fine. So yeah, it's always seemed effortless for watching the referee, obviously with my bias glasses on and booing and all the normal stuff, but so you mentioned the managing prior. I mean, basically, this is a chance for you to kind of you've got a job, but get your credentials out there. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your coaching. I know there's been various different trophies and titles won along the way, but tell us a little bit about your coaching side as well as the refereeing side.
Yeah, so I actually first managed a team when I was about 16. Was the first team I managed. Then I did a little bit of managing in and around the local area, like in the Morison District League. I'm sure many people, real good place to cut your teeth, if you like. Then I moved over to Essex, as I said, for Bishop Stortford, ironically, out of all bloody places. So on the Essex-Hearts border. And yeah, I was a friend that I had played for a football team, needed a manager. I ended up going to manage his team. They were at that point bottom of the league, hadn't won all season, were left in one cup, and we nearly won the league that year, and won the cup that we was in with the same players. And that was in a Sunday league, in the Harlow and District Sunday League. Really gave me a taste. So I did a couple of seasons there, and then decided I wanted to get back into Saturday football. Mm-hmm. So we actually set our own club up at this point, called it's FC Riston, and we got Harlow Dog Track.
Right.
Next to Harlow Grounds new stadium. I knew the guy from the dog track, and you know, they had the space there. It was a stadium, really nice venue. So it was like, you know, let's turn this into a multi-purpose stadium, if you like, and have football there as well. So, you know, a lot of work was put into it to get football to be played there. We got ourselves into a league, which we then won, and then got into what would be step 6 again, with the intent of getting into the Essex Senior League, which we needed to win that league to get into the Essex Senior League. We got accepted into the Essex Senior League, so all was really good. And then on that next season, we won the league at a canter, which was just amazing. Made a couple of cup finals, which we lost them both, sadly. Then we had the FA come down to do a ground inspection and make sure that the ground was suitable, obviously, because FA Cup and stuff. And it wasn't wide enough. It wasn't wide enough for FA competitions. So we did look into like getting a ground share. I won't name the club, but they wanted, and as I say, we're going back to sort of the mid 2000s. They wanted a lot of money, like 5 figures to ground share, and it was like, wow, okay. We want to rent the ground, not buy the club. So that was too much. So we continued at the level that we was at for the following season, because we just couldn't make it happen with the ground share and stuff. And then I went to a team in the Essex Senior League to go and manage there. And I started there for a little while, at Stansted, but by then I'd moved back to Surrey, and it was around the sort of November time, and I was travelling up, travelling back, and it was snowing. I'd drive all the way there to find that training had been called off or matches had been called off, and it was just like, do you know what? And by then I'd started doing a little bit of refereeing around here, so the plan, as I say, wind back 10 minutes, was to get into refereeing before I got back into managing, and it's just taken a little while.
A little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I set up Truck a few years ago. I mean, since then I've managed. I managed the Red Hill representative team.
Right.
The Red Hill was only a little league with 2 teams in it, and you had it was obviously the Sunday League. You had the Morden League that had 13 divisions, and the Leatherhead that had loads. Croydon League had loads. But we put together a really good team, and we actually, there was a big tournament between all the different leagues, and we won that. So that was, I kept my hand into managing a little bit, and then I set up Truck United, which got me back into the changing room, and running a club again, and kind of gave me the buzz to think, oh, do you know what? Is it time now to get back into managing? And I did a game. I remember this. I refereed a game. It was actually at Dulwich, and it was a cup game midweek. At the end of the game, Dulwich had won, and obviously I've gone back to the referee room, but the noise from the Dulwich changing room where they were celebrating, it was like, do you know what? I miss that. And as I walked out, one of the coaches was walking out, and he had a real big smile on his face, and I'm like, whilst I love refereeing, you don't get that.
Yeah.
So that was it. It was kind of a case, you know what? I'm gonna look for some jobs, and if there are some jobs that come up, then I may get back in. I was actually offered a couple of jobs in the summer, and there's some good clubs as well, to be fair, but just didn't feel right. And obviously, I'm a firm believer, everything for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of led me to here, to the Sutton job becoming available, and here we are.
Well, before we kind of get on to that, which is next, but I mean, as I said, women's football it's a different sport. It's the same sport, but it's a different game to men's football. And one of the things I immediately wrote down as a massive advantage as a referee managing is I was like, right, we'll know all about the dark arts. And I went, oh, it doesn't really happen in women's football. It's not quite like that. But what kind of insights do you think you're going to get, benefits you're going to get and be able to pass on team specifically from being a ref?
Do you know what? There's loads, because there's lots of, one of the things, what like I said already to the girls is be the ref's friend. When you get there, don't be like the one that looks at the ref and just morning ref, afternoon ref.
Yeah.
Be their friend, because you want every advantage that you can get, and if you can be their friend and be their friend on the pitch and be nice to them off the pitch, they'll remember that, and then that you might make that one tackle in the game that the ref might go, oh, do you know what? So yeah, and there are there are some still some dark arts that could be used, and you got your game management and the way that you can not manipulate the ref, but I wouldn't say that you could do that,
Yeah.
but there's certain, there's no point getting on a referee's back, and again I'd be disappointed if we get any player sin bins, because obviously there's sin bins all the way up to the championship in women's football, bizarrely. And there's just no need, because the refs, again, it's just educating them. Once the ref's given the decision, they're not going to change the decision and say, oh, actually, do you know what? You're right.
God.
Yeah.
I used those exact words when we were doing yesterday's about Dino, where he got booked for moaning about where the free kick was taken. I was like, never in the history of refereeing has a referee went, do you know what, sir? You're absolutely correct. Let me just move the ball back a little bit. I use those exact words. My manipulation, I used to tell my players that when there was a decision that was one of those, like, ooh, used to say things like, ooh, that was a tough one, ref. I would like to be you making those decisions. And just instead of ranting, just be like, ooh, that's a hard job. And I used to always phone referees. So we obviously, you did your reports by Tuesday, basically. So always on a Wednesday or a Thursday, I'd say, right, game's gone, you've done all your reports, nothing official, but was there something that irritated you that wasn't quite enough to put in the report? And they'd often come back with something and say, your number 5 was a bit mouthy or this. And then the next time we had them, they always said, oh, so much better today. And I'm sitting going, I don't even remember what it was you told me, but the fact you thought I listened to you is exactly what you were saying about be there, mate. Your interview after the first game, I was literally wetting myself at the bit where you were bouncing up and down at the. I used to edit them in Football Manager, and now I'm managing them. I thought that was brilliant. So, kind of, how did you keep composure doing the interviews and going through that process?
That's just, it's my personality. I think, anyone that knows me knows that, a classic Ted Lasso quote, football is life. And football for me has been, a massive part of my life since I can remember. So, yeah, and I'm at that age when, I was a teenager when the first computer games were coming out, and the first, I played the first ever Football Manager game. I think it was called Championship Manager before it changed to Football Manager, as well as others. Excuse me, like the old Amiga, going back there. And when you could edit them, or you could get the patches. I think you used to have to download a patch and stuff like that, didn't you, or whatever, to do the editing. I would always painstakingly edit the squad and always the team name, of course, and the colours, and edit the squad to be, to manage Sutton United, because Sutton United were my team. So
yeah. For many years, it was Solihull Moors I used to take out in the game and put Sutton in instead of them, because it never used to go down below National League or whatever it was called back then. So it used to always be like non-league was just the top division and Sutton weren't in it. So it was always Solihull Moors who ended up getting the boot, because I was putting Sutton in as well. I mean, moving on to the current setup. I mean, it may just be women's football in general. Obviously, I have a very insular view of football in general. It's Sutton United, and then there's other stuff going on elsewhere, but it's Sutton United. The team, the squad, sort of, the results have been flip-flopping quite dramatically. There's been some great wins and some painful defeats. With your experience in women's football, is it something that happens, that the standard can just wildly vary within the same division, or is it something that will settle down? And how can we keep it even for Sutton for the rest of the season and moving forward?
Yeah, I think you get the odd, like you would in the men's game, you'll get the odd cricket score in an FA Cup match.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I mean, women's football doesn't help in the fact that I'll get my soapbox here. You know, it's limited promotions and relegations. Because if you put, with all respect, you know, I've refereed up to Tier 3, which is the Women's National League South. So, you know, the next tier for us would be the Women's National League South East, which is one below the South. But if you put the top 4 teams from our division into the division above, they would finish in the top 5 places. Look at Worthing this year. You know, Worthing this year as second. Hashtag United, who went up from this division a few years ago, they've already moved out of the division above. AFC Wimbledon have been there or thereabouts for a few years ever since they went out of this division. You know, they're very close to potentially doing it again this year, but obviously only one goes up. But with the one goes up, only one gun comes down. And I think last year or 2 come down, but I think last year they didn't have any relegations for, you know, I think Hounslow had folded and what have you not. So yeah, doesn't help with the 1 up, 1 down, because it's not always, or you know, in our case it's 2 down, but there's not always that movement of teams to make the divisions a lot equal. But in this division, you generally find that there's there's kind of 3 divisions in one, if you like. You'll have your top 4 teams that will battle it out for the 1 promotion place. And then you'll have your little section of clubs that are in and around the middle of the table, you know, not flirting with going up, but too good to go down. And then you'll have the probably 4 or 5 clubs, as it is this year, that are all, you know, fighting for survival. So yeah, you'll still get the odd result, but you really, you know, I'd like to think that the days of getting beat 8-0. You know, hopefully won't happen again, to be fair. Under my watch, anyway.
Well, that kind of nicely leads on to the next question, because I mean, it seems to be a high turnover of players. I know they're not contracted or anything like that, and they can go off and sign for another club. But I'm guessing that what you just said is kind of the point. I mean, if we've got a player who's really, really good, but there's that blockage where only one team can go up, for them to become better, they're going to have to leave not just Sutton, but any club really in a similar position to move up divisions quickly. So do you think that's why there's such a high turnover of players, or is it just literally people are fallings out and they've got the opportunity to walk away rather than deal with it?
Yeah, I think you do have players that are loyal to one particular club, and you know, if you've got a successful club, you know, I went up through the leagues myself as a referee with teams like Crawley Wasps. Obviously, I've watched the hashtag model of them going up, progressing through the leagues. And yeah, I think as you go up to the next level, if you want to kick on and progress, then you have to add to the group for sure. And there may be some players that are then not good enough for the next level. But yeah, I think you need a bit of stability. If you're going to be successful, you need that strong core. And you know, I look at Sutton from, obviously I've refereed Sutton over the years. They'd always just be the team in yellow. To be fair, most of the managers say that he didn't like me refereeing Sutton, if I'm honest. And whilst you've still got a few that have been with Sutton for a while, there is, you know, for me, the last time I refed them, they was quite unrecognisable, if you like, in the squad. And obviously that was the previous manager was trying to get the team how he saw fit. But there's a good group there, and for me, is we want to get that stability in, and give the girls that are there. They're all having every chance. I've not bought a new player in as of yet, but there's some good players there. There is without a doubt some good players there, and for us, let's see. My goals at the moment are let's keep in this division. Because we are precariously close to the bottom. Thankfully, the recent results are gone our way. Just with some very late goals, but we've got we've still got points to get on the board this year. That's the first thing. And then I want to get us in the pack, and I'll look at the players that we've got, and there's definitely lots of quality as well in the squad. Attitude's brilliant, so we can get ourselves into the pack, and then if we need to add a few more to the group to make sure that we're one of the teams that are challenging for the title next year, which is what the aim is. Obviously, this again, I'll reiterate, we need to get ourselves safe this year, because we're not safe by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, with a lot of the group that we've got, we'll get them up. And then, if the girls get you up, as I said, I think that the top 4 teams from this division could do okay and do very well in the next division. So, there's no reason why a lot of the players can't come along for that ride. Should, let's get there first, of course.
Yeah. I mean, they've only been in this division third year, maybe. Second or third year. No, second year. Yeah. So they're fairly new to this division as well. But again, I keep harping back to it because it's an odd switch. But as a referee, you sort of said, you're looking at players. I mean, how do you build your contacts? You can't exactly kind of be like, right, I'll have your number. So how do you kind of build your contacts and your scouting, if you like, as a referee? I'm not saying you're bringing loads of no players in, and I'm not saying that you're suddenly going to bring everyone in, but how do you sort of gather contacts as a ref?
Well, you get the contacts because players will follow you on Twitter. You'll build rapport.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you'll build rapport with players that you referee for years on the pitch. And again, I've been in that really great position of actually being on the football pitch with them. So not only can you see what they're like as footballers, you get to know their personalities as well. Who are the leaders and who are the ones that lose their heads? But you actually, it's a real privileged position to be on the football pitch with a lot of these players. And yeah, you build the contacts, because you build. I've always been a sociable ref, shall we say? I would always be up for a chat after the game, and always, especially at the higher levels, there's generally some sort of hospitality after the game. So you will go to the bar, and some of the girls might come up for a chat or want to ask about a decision, or just have a chat in general. Which because it's a real sociable place, right? And yeah, so I've made contacts that way by just being out there refereeing some of these, like when I come to Sutton, there was some of the girls that I know because I've refereed, and because you've been on the pitch with them, so I know a few of their names, so that was a good start for me. And yeah, moving on, potential players coming in. I've got a list of players that I've refereed over the years that I know are really good players and could help us kick on if the need be.
See, what you're saying is you walked into the changing room and you said, I know you're Jazz. I know how to spell your name.
Yeah. Yeah. If you cautioned them a few times, then yeah.
So one of the issues that obviously we have, and I saw you put a post on Amber Planet earlier on, sort of saying similar to this, is the lack of people through the gates. Obviously, my question was, is it part of your remit, but your kind of post showed you are galvanising and trying to get people in? And do you, and you may have already answered this, do you get to see any best practices of what clubs do to get people in the gate? Because that, I think, as I said, I support Sutton United. It's not I support women's football. I don't not support women's football, but I support Sutton United. If Sutton United didn't have a women's team, I probably wouldn't be watching as much women's football because it's Sutton United. But what kind of things, without giving too much away, would you be able to be planning, and have you seen as good practice? Like you mentioned Dulwich in your posts, they get 700 odd, which just infuriates me that they can get so many and we sort of scrabble around for 100 or so. So what kind of things are you planning or hoping for?
Follow Dulwich's model. To be fair, I refereed the first ever game for Dulwich Hamlet, and I think they had 20 people there. And what a model they got, to be fair. So yeah, you just look at what they're doing, look at what other clubs are doing that are building. The women's game is growing, for sure. Obviously, more games at the VBS would be good. I totally understand why. I understand why why Palace are there, and I get that. But if we as a club had 700 people through the door, perhaps the club wouldn't need to Crystal Palace to be there. So yeah, I mean they make it an event. So for Dulwich, it's an event, so the bar's open, people go there, families go there, it's good football. They've got they've got what they call the Pepper Army at Dulwich, which is a group that go there, and they're going there for a bit of an afternoon for, probably a few drinks, and it's a social event, and then they do plenty of singing and make lots of noise. I mean, we've got to go there yet this season, which will be fun. Because they're a very good team on the pitch as well now.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that they've done. They play good football. They play exciting football. But yeah, they've worked hard. What's happened at Dulwich hasn't happened overnight.
No.
And it takes time, and it will need, like with us, we'll need people to come down and go, oh, do you know what? Football's good. Atmosphere's good. So women's football's a real inclusive place for everyone. Let's go again. And then maybe they'll come with some friends, and then maybe there'll be some that are going to come and make a bit of noise. Not going to say we're going to get 1,000 people in, overnight, but why not? Why not look to try? If we get more people through the door.
I mean,
it's get the far.
Yeah, and it is a different atmosphere anyway. Men's football, women's football, it's much more kid friendly. I mean, you've probably bored everyone with this. The only reason I went down first of all was I knew they were playing at home, and young Rosie was kind of on one of her little wind ups, and so I was like, right, just get her out of mum's hair, took her down to the football, and we were there. She wasn't really paying much attention, and the aforementioned Jazz sort of came over to take a corner and gave her a little wave like that. And as I turned to look at her face, I was like, oh God. And that was it. She was just hooked. And it's like, I love Jazz. I love her. And she comes down now. She thinks she's supposed to lead the team out all the time. So I'll give you that heads up. When you see her walking out on the pitch, she'll be like, no, this is my job. It's not your job, child. I've been going here for 35 years. I've never done it once.
You can do it for us.
But I think it is getting the kids, because once you get the kids involved and the parents would have been like, do you know what, the kids are enjoying it. They can run around. It's a nice, safe environment for the kids, even if they're not really paying that much attention. The fact they're running around and being free and can shout and scream, because they can't really do that at the men's games anymore because it's just too big, too busy. But I was going to ask you about the home, and obviously, as you said, we know there's reasons and we know what happens, but I think there was a few people who were going and kind of getting into it, and they bought season tickets, and then they feel a little bit kind of aggrieved that the matches are switched so late or too far away. Without pinning you down to a decision, because obviously we don't know what would or wouldn't happen, do you kind of feel that, or I feel that it might be even better to say, well, actually, next season we are going to be based at Carshalton, because people know where we are, people can make plans, they know the pitch is not going to be suddenly called off the night before, or do you prefer that feeling of, no, we want to be at Gander Green VBS?
Well, first up, I'd rather we didn't give Carl Shorten a penny. So let's look at another venue.
Well, in fairness,
No.
the reason I say Carl Shorten is my house is almost equal distance between the two.
Right.
I am slightly closer to Carl Shorten when I'm on the loo. All the rest of the time, I'm actually closer to Sutton, so I think that's quite funny.
Okay.
So that's selfish. That's very selfish. I can walk to Carl Shorten as well.
Yeah, no. We've had discussions, and I would rather we play as many games as possible at the VBS.
Mm-hmm.
That's home. That's where we want to play. That's our identity. That's our ground. And hopefully, we can get people there and people feel at home there.
Mm-hmm.
Although I am fully aware that we do need to look at another venue. We are talking to a backup venue as well that we're trying to secure. If we can secure that, then that would be very good. And it's local. It's not Carl Shorten, but it's local. And it's a nice stadium. And the pitch there is decent as well. So, yeah, I'd rather we play as many games at the VBS as we can. That's home. That's Sutton United's ground. And as I say, and the more people we get there, let's put the pressure on the directors and say, look, we're getting 700-800, and I mean, not saying we're going to match Palace, but if we can get them crowds there, then they're going to have a question to answer. But I understand why the club are doing it totally. But yeah, I would rather, because again, that has been sort of said, well, why don't we just say X is our home ground, and we'll play the odd cup match at home. But for me, I think let's get as many games at the VBS as can. We've got 5 games scheduled now at home for this season. 4 of them are at the VBS, so that's good. And yeah, they're trying, for me, that's home. And whilst having 2 different homes is not ideal, I get it and I understand it. But let's make that backup plan a little bit closer, and a decent venue that people can still get to, but not Carl Shorten.
Yeah. Well, either I've managed my sort of schedule perfectly, or you can see what I've written down. Because the next thing is, I was going to say, let's get some plugs in for the next home match. Now, I've kind of just realised that it's against Dartford, so I do have someone to boo every time they touch the ball. Love her dearly, but obviously every time she touches the ball, me and Rosie will boo her for leaving us. But you sort of give us your little plug. Let's get some people going. Right, we're coming down on Sunday to get behind the team.
Yeah, well, just to be fair, I've had a right baptism of fire with the job, because the first game that I took charge, we was away to Fulham, who were top of the league, and we were brilliant. Actually, when we got that back to 2-1, I looked across at their bench, as I said, and I saw their faces, and they got all their iPads out, because they get all the technology that their first team have, and they were worried, which was great, Sadly, we didn't get the result, but obviously we then went to Millwall, and they just signed 3 new players of good standard. So, I mean, they only lost the other day to AFC Wimbledon in the cup by the odd goal. And they're strong, a lot stronger now, Millwall, than when we played them a few weeks ago, and in the beginning of the season for sure. So we got a good point there, and now the third game in, and who's top of the table at the moment? Dartford. So 2 of my 3 games will be opening 3 games will be against teams at the top of the table. But you've got to play them. Dartford are a good side.
Yeah.
They're not top of the table because they're not a good side. They've only lost 1 game all season, which I happen to referee, so they'll have that against me. Yeah, they're a good side. Play good football. They're tough. They're a physical team. But yeah, I really feel that, we could get a result against them. I've just got this feeling that, we shouldn't. Football's not played on paper. Classic old, quote. On paper, we've not got a chance. but yeah, not played on paper. We're back at the VBS, back at home, first time in a while. We're battling really hard. The girls have just been absolutely brilliant ever since I've come on board. That's for sure. Can't fault any of them. And that's the whole squad. And obviously, I've now got a new assistant manager in as well. So
Yeah.
Anthony's doing brilliant as well. So yeah, it's going to be a good game. Let's give it a go. Listen, we lost 7-1 to them at their place earlier on in the season, so we know it's going to be tough. And they again recruited really, really well over the summer, too well, as we obviously know. But yeah, you know, let's go and give it a go. We go in with no fear. It's a bit of a free hit. People, you know, kind of expect us to lose the match because of who we're playing, but you know, let's go and beat them and put the title race up in the air again. You know, and play our part and get ourselves. You know, we 3 points for us on Sunday would be massive, and would put us well on the way to being safe. So yeah, get down, give us some support, and who knows? You know, it won't if we don't win on Sunday, it won't be for the want of trying. That's for sure.
No.
But I feel that there's just something there that I've just feel that I don't think they've been on their best form since they lost to the Dulwich. They were 2-1 down to Millwall in the 90th minute in the cup. I know they won 2-0 at the weekend, but yeah, I mean, yeah, who knows? It's a funny old game, right?
Oh, dear. Right. So to wrap this up, and the reason that I want to interview in a couple of weeks' time, give you a little chance to kind of get your feet under the table, get everything sorted, but you very kindly brought it forward and has kindly agreed to speak about a subject. It's the EFL's LGBT, I think, fortnight. I'm not 100% sure, but it's the rainbow, not laces, balls they're doing this time, which is quite interesting. And you can already tell this is awkward for me because I'm spectacularly uninterested in people's genitalia, what they do with it, what they've got, not got. It's just like, why are you so interested in all these things? But me being uncomfortable, it's a small price to pay if it gets people kind of understanding a little bit. My main experience of Mike doesn't, and I mean this nicely, Mike doesn't care in so much as I'm not interested in people's lives, is there was someone at my work who transitioned just before COVID and hadn't seen them for about 2-3 years. And I came back to work and someone in the lift started talking to me, smiling. And I'm like, hell, you go away. I don't talk to people. It's Monday morning. Just leave me the hell alone. And only as we kind of reached my floor, they said, oh, how's the podcast going? And I'm like, who is this person? And then it just twigged who it was. So I sent a message going, oh, God, I'm so sorry. I'm really rude and the rest of it. And she came back later in the day and went, your response was the kindest, nicest response of anyone because everyone was like, oh, yeah, you look great and everything. And you were just clearly like, who the hell are you? Go away. So it's like, she was like, it clearly shows I look different to how I was before. So I think that's one of the first times Mike not caring in his favour. But I've got some questions and I really appreciate if you could answer them. I hope they're suitable. How do you see the importance of representation of just inclusivity in sport? And are there any kind of specific initiatives, I wish I could use these words, that you're passionate about including and promoting?
Yeah, I think it's the new one with the EFL with the football's great because again it just shows and people. I love how a rainbow can offend so many people. It's quite amusing, to be fair. Obviously, the Rainbow Laces campaign still goes. I think that's November. But it's important. Yeah, but it's important to have these days because there's lots and lots of LGBT people that are out there. Lots, and a lot that you wouldn't know. Because as you say, people, you know, especially people's sexuality, you know, none of most people's business. Obviously, being transgender is a bit different because you are changing on the outside as well. So you look, even though I don't look any different at the moment because I'm sitting here just doing a podcast and I'm in my tracksuit and my camera's making my face look very red. It's not. I've got loads of blusher on. I'm like, I look like a tomato in the screen. Hopefully, it doesn't come across like that to you. But it's important because we know, especially in the men's game, not so much the women's. Women in the women's game, they don't have to come out because lots are. There's lots of people in the women's game, and nobody cares. It's great. People just get on and enjoy the game for what it is. But in the men's game, gosh, anyone dare come out as being gay or bisexual or even trans is, everybody's up in absolute arms. And it's front page news, and it's it's just awful. The hate that people get just because of who they are, and it's sad that in sort of 2024 the world's there. So we do need that representation, and we do need to have these kind of days to sort of say, look, it is okay. People, you just have to look at my interview with Sutton. Anybody else had come in as being manager, there'd have been no issue, but because I was trans, it's suddenly the biggest thing for some people, and the hate's there, and a lot of people, especially when it comes to trans, they talk about fair play for women and keep safe women's sports, but what they, it's nothing to do with it. So I'm a manager, I'm not playing. And it just shows that it's just their hatred for people that are transgender, which is really, really sad. It's a bit like it was for lesbian, gay and bi people in the 80s. And don't get me wrong, it's still bad for lesbian, gay and bi people in today's world. So we need that representation. People just need to go and live their lives. Doesn't matter what their gender is or their gender identity or their sexuality. This is football. Football should be loved by everyone. Playing football and sport is great for people's physical and mental health, so let's not deny people from being able to play the sport should they wish to. When it comes to trans people, I think there should be rules, and there are rules for all sports, and that's great, and I get that, and there should be. But I play golf. I'm a member of a golf club. I've never won a competition down there. Girls at my club are absolutely brilliant. I think the actual thing is a lot of it. In the actual real world, it's not as bad. Don't get me wrong, recently had a trans girl that was murdered, another one that was recently stabbed. People get beaten up because they're gay, lesbian, or bisexual, which is just horrific, again, in this day and age. But yeah, let's make the world a better place. And if we have these initiatives that say, look, you can come to football and you can enjoy football. And, I know quite a few LG and B referees. There's quite a few out there. They don't all have to come out, and there's quite a few footballers that they shouldn't have to come out. But let's just show. It's just let's just show people that football is for everybody, and let's keep having these campaigns to show that it is. And hopefully, one day, won't be in my lifetime, but one day. You won't have to have these campaigns, and you won't have, nobody will care. A bit like in the women's game now, people get on with it, and that's that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's just so much I don't understand. I mean, especially in football, and I'm hoping you understand this. We've already got a figure of eight. We've got a referee. We can all shout at the referee. We don't need to shout at each other. We can just we get it all out there. But I mean. Obviously, I'm not a professional interviewer, so do forgive if he's wrong. But for idiots like me, how did you know that something was quote wrong, and you had those feelings? I mean, we just plod through life and crack on with everything, and I just sort of wondering where did you kind of get that? This isn't right, and how you came to that realization of what was wrong. I don't mean that it's done wrong, but why you want to change.
I'm still the same person.
Yeah.
I knew that I wasn't in the correct gender from a very young age. Sadly, then, I didn't have the internet. So I just thought I was the only person in the world that felt like this, and I couldn't tell anyone because they'd all think I was absolutely mad. I mean, now it's great that these children, and there are lots of trans children out there, can search in the internet, can talk to people, and have that, have these conversations. I knew from a very young age, but I just thought that I would try and just live in the gender that I was assigned, because that would be the easiest thing. And I've done it for many, many years, and teenage years were terrible. I don't want to make it all dark and horrible here, but, there was suicide attempts and thoughts. I used to stand on Balham House wanting to jump, but I always picked the side that overlooked Sutton United. So that kind of, probably good job.
So you didn't, yeah.
If I'd have gone the other side, I may well have gone. To be fair,
Yeah.
and I look back at that, and it was like, wow. But football for me saved my life, so that's why I would always play football, watch football, football, because that was something I could do. And at that point, it didn't matter what was in my head. When you're on a football pitch, you forget everything that's going on. So for me, I always threw my life into football. And then I lived the double life because I thought nobody would accept me for many years. So I lived the double life. I would pretend to be this person that I wasn't to lots of people, but then, we go away and I'd be who I truly was. And didn't didn't transition publicly for many years because I worried how everyone else would accept me. Because as the old person, I never had any crap. I could, go down the shop and no one would give me a second look. I could, manage a football team and no one would bat an eyelid. I could referee and no one would care. But as soon as I, came out to the world, suddenly it's a big thing, and you get all that hate. But it was like I had to, for my own mental health, I had to be true. I was going to give football up, and then I had a 2017-18 was going to be my last year refereeing. I was going to give it all up, and then I had a load of heart attacks. Spent Christmas in hospital. That made me think, do you know what? Sod it. I'm going to live my life as who I am, and I'm going to continue refereeing because it's football, something I love. Why should I give it up because of who I am? So that's when I decided to continue refereeing and come out to the world, if you like, because that's how it kind of happened, which is a bit mad. So yeah, obviously, life as the dead person, I always refer to myself as in that kind of tense, was a lot easier than it is now, but I'm a lot happier now, and I'm still here because I may not have been here to tell the story. It's hard. It's nowadays, as I say, it's easier. Had I been a teenager in this world, then I would have transitioned a lot younger. But going back to 1980 and whatever, there was. I just thought that if I told anyone what was going on in my head, they'd all think I was mad because it wasn't. There wasn't so many people around.
No. I mean, this is going to become a bit of a jumble, and I do apologise. I did kind of say, well, I mean, obviously, hate is wrong anyway. But you mentioned what's happened to gay people in sort of the 80s, where people were literally being beaten up just for walking down the street. You also had alongside that blatant overt racism and all that hate and anger and angst. Now, there's always going to be morons, so you can't help that. But now most people are just accepting of if people are different. So who knows? And hopefully the horrors that people have gone through will end up being one of those things that people look back on and go, did people really do that? I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
I watch programs with the girls, and there's like films, and they're like, it was never like that. And you're like, no, I actually remember people saying things like that. I was talking to one of the players for Black History Month, and they were saying about some of the things that people used to say about, oh, you'll be cold in the winter. And I was like, oh my good Lord, I actually remember people saying that and being just accepted. So my little hope is, yes, obviously, I just like everyone, just be happy. If your happiness infringes on someone else's happiness, then you don't get the right to do that. But be happy in yourself and let everyone else be happy. But my hope is it will stop. Please. But
I'll
one of
keep
the other things,
smiling. So
yeah,
let them hate, because it makes me
Yeah.
laugh. They're wasting all their time and energy hating on me online, but it is online, because generally in the real world everyone's fine and everyone's just
Yeah.
accepting, and just let you live, get on with your life. So
yeah. But one of the things that people get quite antsy on is the pronouns. Now I will admit, with the calling people they, I'm like, I really wish we'd have a new word, because they to me generally means a group or person unknown, or people unknown. So I'd like, if we could have a brand new pronoun for just generic, that would be wonderful. But how important, and you're not answering for everyone, so don't worry, but how important is if someone gets it wrong, but you can tell there's no intent? Does it make you cross, or does it just like be one of those?
No.
Yeah.
If there's no intent, people would deliberately misgender me online, because that's what they do.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but if I'm walking around the road like this and somebody refers to me as the wrong gender, then I'm not going to go mad at them. I will correct them, and every day I pick the phone up and I'll get misgendered. Okay, so I will correct people. And if there's no intent in that, then absolutely zero issue whatsoever. What I will say is I use this analogy, is that the right word? Like with my dogs, right? I take my dogs walking. Oh, isn't she beautiful?
Yeah.
No, he's a he. Oh, isn't a he beautiful? And they will just go get dog's pronouns right, just like that. So if they can do it for a dog, they can do it for a human. If somebody tells you that they are he him, then they are he him. If somebody tells you that they are she her, they are she her. And if somebody tells you that they are they them, then they are they them. And just respect people's pronouns. It's not hard to do. Just you respect people's pronouns. It's easy.
Yeah, I mean, there was one, and you mentioned the phrase "dead," where I was in a conversation on Twitter, and someone was getting very, very cross that they transitioned sort of 6 months ago or 9 months ago, or whatever it was. It was a short period of time, and their grandmother was just getting it wrong all the time, and they were furious and fuming about it. And people were saying, well, is she doing it on purpose? Oh no, she corrects herself, but I wish she just wouldn't. And then someone else went, hang on a minute, I transitioned at 35 years of age. My family knew me for 35 years. They're going to make mistakes. You've got to let them have a little bit more than a couple of months to get used to it. And this person was saying about their dead name, and this person came back and went, well, then let them mourn that person. So I was like, do you know what? As long as there's no intent and you learn from it, that's the important thing. I think people should be allowed to make mistakes, but as you said, as long as it's corrected upon on the next one.
People make mistakes. My mum used to make mistakes. Bless her. Up until she died. Mum would make mistakes because she knew this other person and had given me this other dodgy name. But she tried. As long as there's no intent, and if people generally do get it. And people that didn't know me previous are great, because they will get told my name's Lucy, and hi Lucy. Obviously people that have known me for many years knew my dead name, which is it is a dead name. There's it's not my passport, not on any of my driving license or any of my that's gone dead. But yes, people get used to it, and I've got friends that have known me for 40 plus years, and they get it right, and they all know my name, and it might take a little while, and they might make mistakes in the first sort of few times they see me or speak to me, but they'll get it, and most people are fine.
So here's one I think you might like, and we're wrapping up. So what are some misconceptions that you'd like to correct about transgenders?
About transgender people?
Yeah.
God, yeah.
Just pick one.
Listen, I will tell you this now. Nobody would choose to be transgender or say they are transgender unless they are. Okay, nobody, no, and I know thousands and thousands, and I genuinely thousands and thousands of trans people, and they are all trans. Nobody is says that they're trans for any ulterior motive other than their head and their brain are telling them that they are. You know, they are the other. The thing is as well, you know, nowadays it's great because people are able to transition a lot younger, so the results for them are better. Trans men, you probably meet trans men every day of your life when you're out, and you wouldn't know because their results are generally brilliant. Their surgeries are horrific, but the results that they get are absolutely amazing. And trans women as well. You know, there's lots out there. You know, you wouldn't. There's some absolutely look totally and utterly amazing. Just let people live their lives. You know, their life isn't your life, so let them live their life. It doesn't concern you. And you know, just be happy and smile. We get one life in this world, so you know, why spend your life hating on something that doesn't concern you? You know.
There were. I mean, you mentioned your Twitter account and people following you, but some of the comments is like, oh, I can't. I just literally can't, and I just all credit to you for being so calm and everything. Because I'm just like, I can't continue reading this. I mean, some of them I did really feel like jumping in there. Do you know what? I'm going to make this worse, so I don't think I should. And it was the one that the girl should watch out because you're in the changing room and you're really a man. As were the last two managers of Sutton United. If your point is true, the last two managers were men. So what? If your point was true, what difference does it make? But I was like, no, I can't quite phrase that correctly. So I was like, probably best. But yeah. So yeah. I mean, hopefully it's going to change, but it's one of those horrible, slow process. But things like this, and hopefully this conversation will make people maybe ask some questions and just get a little bit more open and honest. I've certainly learned a bit, and thank you ever so much. There are other interviews from Lucy from people who actually know what the hell they're asking, and people who are much better at it. So if you go to Lucy's Twitter account, you'll see various different ones. But thank you for humouring me and doing it. Best of luck for the season. We will see you on Sunday.
Yeah,
and
fingers crossed.
We will hope that it all goes well. We're going to wrap up this episode of Sutton Podcast. As always, we appreciate everyone's attention. Do like, share, follow, all the rest of it on social medias. Thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Thank you to the guests for Steve and for Lucy. And they've been very generous with giving up their free time. And thank you to listeners. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Goodbye.